October 2018. Northern Montana, USA. Rain slammed against the windshield as Ethan Cole drove through the empty forest highway. The GPS signal had died 20 miles ago. His phone showed no service. Only darkness remained. Ethan was a freelance crime photographer from Chicago. He spent years chasing murder scenes, accidents, and strange disappearances. Nothing scared him anymore. At least, that's what he believed. The storm became worse. Thunder exploded across the mountains while giant pine trees bent in the wind like shadowy figures, watching the road. Then Ethan saw it. A rusty wooden sign. Black Pine Motel, 2 miles. The letters looked half-burned. He sighed in relief. Finally, his gas tank was nearly empty. The motel stood alone deep inside the forest. Only 6 cabins existed, all separated by darkness. A flickering neon open sign buzzed weakly near the office. Ethan stepped out of the car. Cold wind hit his face instantly. Something about the place felt wrong. Too quiet. No insects. No animals. Nothing. Inside the office sat an old woman smoking beside a tiny television showing static. She looked at Ethan slowly. "You need a room?" "Yeah, just for the night." Her eyes narrowed. "Cabin 14 is empty." Ethan noticed something strange immediately. There were only 6 cabins outside. "Where's cabin 14? The old woman froze for a second. Then she smiled nervously. "Behind the trees." Ethan didn't argue. He was exhausted. She handed him a rusty key. "Do not open the bathroom door after midnight." Ethan laughed. "Seriously?" But the woman didn't laugh back. Her expression stayed cold. "People who open it hear her." The office lights flickered. Ethan suddenly felt uncomfortable. "Who?" the old woman whispered. "The girl crying inside the walls." Thunder boomed outside. For the first time that night, Ethan felt fear crawl under his skin. Cabin 14 stood farther inside the forest, hidden behind thick trees. Ethan had no idea how he missed it before. The cabin looked older than the others. Rotting wood, broken windows, peeling paint. The air around it felt colder. He unlocked the door. The inside smelled damp and old, like something had been sealed for years. One bed, one lamp, one bathroom door. Ethan dropped his backpack and checked his phone again. Still no signal. Then, TP. He froze. Someone knocked on the window. Ethan turned quickly. Nobody there. Only darkness. He stepped closer carefully. Rainwater slid down the glass. Then he saw it. A reflection behind him. A girl standing near the bathroom door. Long black hair covering her face. Ethan spun around. Nothing. The room was empty. He swallowed hard. Okay, not funny. Probably exhaustion. He opened a beer from his bag and sat on the bed. Midnight arrived. The storm became violent. And then, he heard crying. Soft. Weak. Coming from the bathroom. Ethan stared at the door. The old woman's warning returned instantly. "Do not open the bathroom door after midnight." The crying became louder. A young girl, sounding terrified. "Help me." Ethan stood slowly. Every instinct told him to leave. But curiosity was stronger. He grabbed the bathroom handle. Cold. Ice cold. The crying stopped immediately. Silence. Then a whisper emerged from the other side. "Don't let him see you." Ethan's heart pounded violently. Suddenly, BNG. Something slammed hard against the bathroom door from inside. Ethan jumped back. Another bang. Another. The entire cabin shook. Then complete silence. Ethan slowly stepped backward. His breathing became heavy. And then, a deep male voice whispered directly behind him. "She told you not to open it." Ethan turned instantly. Nobody there. But now the bathroom door was slightly open. A black darkness waited inside. And from that darkness, a pale human hand slowly crawled out onto the floor. Ethan stumbled backward in terror. The pale hand dragged itself farther from the bathroom darkness. Its fingers looked broken, bent unnaturally. Then another hand appeared. A girl crawled out slowly. Wet black hair covered her face, while dirty water poured from her body onto the wooden floorboards. Ethan couldn't move. The girl stopped crawling. Then her head snapped upward violently. Crack. Her face was horrifying. Eyes completely white, skin gray and torn, and her mouth sewn shut with black thread. Ethan screamed and grabbed the lamp beside the bed. The girl suddenly whispered without moving her lips. "He's coming." The cabin lights exploded. Darkness swallowed everything. Ethan heard footsteps underneath the floor. Heavy, slow, moving directly below him. Thump, thump. Thump, thump. The entire cabin creaked. Then something began scratching beneath the wood. Ethan turned on his flashlight with shaking hands. The girl was gone. Only wet footprints remained, leading under the bed. No. The scratching stopped. Complete silence. Ethan slowly looked beneath the bed. Nothing. But then, a human eye blinked in the darkness. Ethan fell backward instantly. A massive figure crawled from under the bed impossibly fast. It was a man, or something that used to be human. His body was twisted, bones sticking through skin, jaw hanging unnaturally low. But the worst part, he wore a sheriff uniform. The creature smiled. You shouldn't have listened to her. It lunged at Ethan violently. Ethan smashed the lamp into its face and ran outside into the storm. Rain poured heavily as he sprinted toward the motel office. But something was wrong. The motel had changed. The other cabins were gone. Only darkness remained between the trees. Even Ethan's car had disappeared. The forest looked endless now. Then he heard distant screaming. A woman screaming for help. Coming from cabin 14. Ethan turned back slowly. The cabin window glowed red. Inside, shadows moved violently. Something terrible was happening there. He should have run. Instead, he went back. The front door slowly opened by itself. Inside the cabin, the air smelled like blood. The walls were covered in scratches now. Hundreds of them. Messages carved deeply into the wood. HE takes their faces. Don't trust the sheriff. HE lives below. Ethan's flashlight flickered. Then he noticed photographs hanging everywhere. Old missing person photos. Dozens of people. Tourists. Travelers. Families. Every victim had vanished near Black Pine Motel. At the center of the wall was one final photo. Ethan's own picture, taken earlier that night while he checked into the motel. His blood ran cold. Someone had been watching him. Then the bathroom mirror suddenly fogged up. Words slowly appeared. HE is not dead. A floorboard creaked behind Ethan. He turned slowly. The sheriff creature stood in the hallway smiling. But now, it wore a different face. Ethan recognized it instantly. The motel owner. The old woman. The creature's skin stretched unnaturally as it copied her appearance. Its jaw cracked open. You stayed too long. Ethan ran again. The creature chased him through the cabin while screaming echoed from beneath the floorboards. Hands began reaching out through gaps in the wood. Dead hands. Dozens of them. Trying to grab him. Ethan crashed through the back door into the forest. Branches cut his skin as he ran blindly through darkness. Then, he found something impossible. A hidden underground door, half buried beneath mud. Chains hung broken beside it. And from below came the sound of children crying. Ethan opened the hatch slowly. A staircase disappeared into darkness underground. At the bottom, he found the truth. Bodies, hundreds of bones, old clothes, rusty police badges, and photographs covering the walls. The sheriff had been killing travelers for decades. But he wasn't human anymore. Something else lived inside him now. Then Ethan saw a videotape player sitting on a table. Still working. He pressed play. Static filled the screen. Then an old recording appeared from 1987. A young sheriff stood beside cabin 14, smiling at the camera. Next to him stood a little girl. The same dead girl. The sheriff spoke into the camera. If anyone finds this, don't let her out. Suddenly the girl in the video looked directly into the camera. Even though recordings shouldn't work like that. And she whispered, "He fed us to the dark." The screen cut to black. Then a deep growl echoed behind Ethan underground. Not human, not animal, something far worse. Ethan slowly turned around. The underground tunnel behind him was no longer empty. A giant shape stood deep in the darkness. Too tall, too thin. Its body bent sideways unnaturally like broken bones twisting beneath skin. And it had many faces. Human faces. Dozens of them moving across its flesh. Screaming silently. Ethan realized the horrifying truth. The sheriff wasn't the monster. He was only feeding it. The creature stepped forward. Bones cracked loudly with every movement. One of the faces opened its eyes. The motel owner. Another face. A missing child. Another. The girl with the sewn mouth. They were all trapped inside it. Still alive somehow. The creature spoke with many voices at once. You opened the door. Ethan backed away slowly. The tunnel walls suddenly began bleeding black liquid. The lights died. Only darkness remained. Then all the trapped faces started screaming together. Ethan ran deeper into the tunnels, searching desperately for another exit. Behind him, the creature crawled rapidly across the ceiling, its limbs snapping like spider legs. The tunnel suddenly opened into a massive underground chamber, and Ethan froze. There were cages everywhere, tiny cages, children's clothes still hanging inside them. Photographs covered the walls dating back 50 years. Every missing person connected to Black Pine Motel. Then Ethan noticed one final thing. A giant pit in the center of the chamber. Moving, breathing. Something enormous lived below. The sheriff emerged from darkness again. But now his human disguise was melting away. You should have left. Ethan grabbed a rusted shovel nearby. What are you? The sheriff smiled weakly. A keeper. Then suddenly, the dead girl appeared beside Ethan. She pointed toward the pit. That's where it sleeps. The sheriff screamed furiously. Don't listen to her. The creature above shrieked violently. The entire underground chamber shook. Rocks began collapsing. The girl grabbed Ethan's arm. You have to burn everything. But what about you? Her white eyes filled with tears. We're already dead. The sheriff charged forward. Ethan swung the shovel hard into his face. Crack. The sheriff fell backward into the pit screaming, and something below instantly grabbed him. Wet chewing sounds echoed upward. Then silence. The girl handed Ethan an old lighter. In this, the underground tunnels were filled with gasoline drums. Maybe someone had planned this long ago. Ethan threw the lighter. Whoosh. Fire exploded instantly through the tunnels. The creature above screamed with hundreds of voices. Faces melted inside its flesh while the chamber collapsed around Ethan. The dead girl smiled one final time. Then she disappeared into ash. Ethan ran through the burning tunnels, desperately searching for the exit. Behind him, the monster screamed louder and louder. Then suddenly, everything collapsed. Morning. Police found Ethan unconscious near the highway miles away. Black Pine Motel was gone. Completely vanished. No cabins. No underground tunnels. Nothing. Authorities believed Ethan suffered hallucinations after a car accident. But Ethan knew the truth. Months later, he tried forgetting everything. Until one night, he received a package with no return address. Inside was a single photograph, taken recently. It showed Ethan sleeping inside his apartment, and written on the back were 5 terrifying words. Cabin 14 is still open.